Welcome to PSL Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 324, a Christmas episode from remote locations.
Yeah. I know. So this is it's a little bit frustrating because last couple of episodes we recorded there, I was pretty sick, and I'd overcome some sickness, and I thought I was good, and then it looks like I caught something else. So it's it's the one that nobody wants to have. So I'm home. Hopefully this doesn't mess up Christmas too much, but I'm glad we still get to do the podcast. I mean, we always want to make sure that we're producing that content for our faithful, followers who love watching our stuff. So glad to be with you on this Christmas episode.
Yeah, appreciate that. And again, during the holidays here, our episodes aren't going to be as long just because, we also want to be able to spend time with our families, and we want you guys, to still listen, but go like, I don't know, I got to do things. And we want to make sure we have enough content for you guys to listen to here. So you'll be missing us on the Monday episodes. We're not doing Monday minisodes until the new year. But just looking forward to this time right now. It's been crazy. And I don't know. I know things are going to calm down, but they haven't calmed down for me on my end. I got to tell you though, Mike, your beard looks fierce on StreamYard. So just we got to get sponsored by like somebody, some kind of beard people. All right. So how are things? Well, you kind of shared how things are going. Reselling, how are things going?
Actually pretty good. I finally started to sell a few more of like the board games, puzzles, those types of things have finally started to go. Those last minute shoppers looking for stuff, which has been pretty good because those are easy things to go and pack. Luckily, my wife's not sick. She's in the clear. So she's been able to, get all the packing and shipping done for us. And obviously no sourcing. Sourcing has been down, but I think we're at that point now coming into Christmas week that sourcing is just, it's pretty low anyways. So, if you had been sourcing, if you had like had those hot ticket items for Amazon or eBay that you were able to flip really fast, maybe last week and up to maybe the last couple of days have been pretty good for you as far as getting some sourcing, getting those things out. But we're hitting at that finish line, as it were, as far as people being able to get stuff by Christmas. And one of my fears too, especially as I start to get sales, because as sales roll in, even like today, I get a sale of something that I know is probably a Christmas gift. I always worry, are these things that if it doesn't make it in time, especially with the post office being a little bit slow, Amazon being slow, are these things that are going to end up coming back because they didn't arrive on time? Are people going to be wanting returns? And obviously we talk about January as being, returnuary. So expecting maybe a couple of these to be returns or people wanting to get them back. But you also have to remember too, some people meet after Christmas, they travel for Christmas, they're going to go see some family over the next week or two. So it's not necessarily the case that they're going to be returns, but there's always that fear. What about you? Do you ever get that fear that those last minute sales are going to be returns?
I don't. It's interesting. I find that the returns that do happen are stuff that people bought like back in October. Right? No, on eBay it's not a big deal, but I mean on Amazon. So generally it's those people that buy early and then they tend to, I don't want to say abuse. I mean, I get it. Like you buy a gift for somebody and they open it and it's not what they want. Like, I'm not a big fan of forcing my kid to keep stuff they don't care for, and again, every gift I buy, they cherish. Okay. But I find that the returns are generally those things that, like we said before, are easy to find after the Christmas season in retail arbitrage. And so my guess is people just find it and then they end up going, whoa, I paid 3 to 4x on that. Yeah, I'm returning that.
Right.
And so that's how I fear. It's interesting you say that, though, because on the Discord, we were having a discussion how people were concerned about all these Christmas decorations that they had sold. Like they sold some inflatables or some blow molds. And I will say those don't get returned. I think what happens is as people are decorating, they're going, oh, hey, it'd be nice if we had this. Or I'll talk about our Bolo later, but, our nativity scene, we kind of need to replace it. Or we need to, we should get a little bit more festive and get a few blow molds for the lawn. And people end up buying it. And then they're like, you know what? I don't want to go through the hassle of buying a new one. We're just going to keep it. And so I find returnery generally is those retail arbitrage items. Right. And that's just my sense. Whenever I've had a lot of returns, it's been Amazon. So this year, crossing my fingers, I'm hoping it's not any kind of crazy returns. Plus the fact that eBay 30-day returns, like you're pretty much going to close out by at least the second or third week of January, and you should be okay. And so, just saying like you, it's interesting. Sales did rebound. I had a crazy like Sunday. Every I would say 10 to 15 minutes had a cha-ching, 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 throughout the day. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was all like $20 sales, $25 sales, $30 sales. But they all added up. And I'm glad because it did rebound I looked at, October was good, but November was a terrible month for me. And it rebounded for what was going on in November. But I got to say this year, my best month was July. It was not Q4. And I'm not sure why July. Maybe that was the time when everyone was just like, oh, things are all good. And then reality set in. I'm not really sure, but it was great. And then sourcing, like you said, sourcing has been pretty rough. I would say, and again, I'm not, it's funny. We got one of these comments on our reviews that said we're all doom and gloom and stuff. And it's like, no, we just got to keep it real. Like we're not going to sugarcoat things. And this is just the reality right now, especially right now, is that sourcing is going to die out probably for a week, unless you can find people that are like after Christmas going, you know what, it's time to clean things out for the new year, which does happen. So keep an eye out for that. But for example, this last weekend, I went to garage sales, and I've never been to garage sales during Christmas season like that. I've always been doing retail arbitrage, so I just want to see what's out there. And one week I did really well. I picked up a bunch of vintage T-shirts, and I think that was, I don't call it luck, but I just landed upon the right occasion. Went to a house I had been to previously a year ago, and it was kind of weird. I don't know if you guys caught this on the Instagram stories that show up, and I'm like, oh, so are you the same person doing the garage sale a year ago? They're like, yeah, we're just taking our time selling stuff. And you're thinking there's nothing there. And I always say, if you're there, you might as well look. You already spent the time driving to the location. Because I've done it before where I'm like, oh, never mind. I'll just get in my car and I'll take off. But it was a slow day. So there was no golden hour. So I go in, and sure enough, there's all these vintage T-shirts in there, which was kind of shocking. And there was, those vintage Haunted Mansion shirts, because, those are still a hot commodity, especially if they're Nightmare Before Christmas. So that's a Bolo. And, I had to pay $20 for it. I think they knew, but how much it was worth. But, the shirt's worth around 100 to 200. I do think with the way the market goes now, it may take a little bit longer to sell. But then the week after, so this previous weekend, I went to garage sales again. And it's interesting. I find that resellers, for the most part, are hoarders when it comes to, they say they want to get rid of stuff. And a lot of times they're able to, but sometimes they're not. So every garage sale I went to, it was weird. They were all resellers. Now, they weren't your typical reseller. Some weren't eBay. Most of them were kind of swami flea market deal. And the one I went to was like blowout prices. And so I check out their pictures, and I'm like, oh, they have some vintage wrestling stuff. They have some vintage Walkmans and all this. And I show up, and it wasn't, they wanted top dollar for, like, not top dollar, but they wanted the in between. And I'm like, if you're saying blowout prices, I'm expecting garage sale prices. So yeah, sourcing was kind of weak, but again, that's okay. This is what we've been talking about, is stacking that cash, because I do think there's going to be great opportunities in 2023. I do think even in January, there's going to be a lot of great sales. And generally, the secondary market does well in January more than they do during December. So I think things are going to be going pretty well. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Nice. And good stuff.
Now, real quick, one thing I have been great is I've needed bubble wrap, and I've been able to get from American Bubble Boy. So if you haven't yet ordered your American Bubble Boy bubble wrap for those January sales, they're still in business. I think they're not delivering probably Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, but the next day stuff has been great. So check them out in our link below at American Bubble Boy. All right, so you got any random stories real quick?
Just like a small one. So I'll probably actually talk more about this because it's a pretty big deal, but I'll probably talk more about it on another episode. Sneak preview. So doing the move from where I was, the neighborhood I was at, to another place, temporarily until I eventually move out of the state. Some of the neighbors, some people who lived in the area knew that I was a reseller. And so they knew we were moving, and they kind of like reached out, and they're like, hey, we've got these like horse corrals. We don't have horses anymore. Would you be interested in them? And, I looked these horse corrals up, and just the metal horse corrals, if you buy them new, they go for over $100 a pop. and they had like 15 of them to like make a little corral, and they were absolutely free. They knew I was a reseller, so this wasn't like like, hey, you have horses and we know you want them. They just wanted them gone, and they're really good condition. So I think I'm going to be able to list these up and get at least $50 a pop. So you figure
what those are. I don't know what those are.
a horse corral. It's just like a metal fencing. So it's just like a metal. It's basically got like three like bars that go across, and then like poles that go down and stick in, and they're kind of like movable.
Are you gonna just do
local? So I'm not going to ship them at all. This is going to be a local deal. I already kind of checked the offer up and Craigslist. You know, they're things that sell pretty often. I mean, people sell them for quite a bit of money. And there's a lot of people around here who have horses. And so, you know, they're always extending their horse corral. So I think I'll be able to, they were pretty easy to just in a couple of loads, throw them up on my car, store them here for a little bit. This is going to be a local deal once I'm feeling a little bit better, I bet, at the beginning of the year. I can't imagine holding on to them for more than a month. And, you know, I should be able to let them go for at least $50 a piece. So you figure $750 for a free, you know, probably a half hour of like loading them up on the car, a couple of trips really quick. And, you know, it was nearby where I was at. I was, you know, 5 minutes from the place. So it was a really easy deal. And I think it's going to be one of those things where just, again, sharing that you're a reseller, people knowing, because a lot of times people will think that, you know, we take advantage of people. But again, a lot of people want to help you out, or they're just trying to get rid of stuff. And so they'll give you a good deal or give you stuff for free. So again, it's a good thing to share your reseller. Oftentimes it pays off.
It's a circle of reselling.
That's right.
That's what it is. That's okay. Next year we are coming out with shirts. So stay tuned for that. We will be having merch drops. And I think circle of now somebody's gonna take it. Next thing you know, we're gonna see that on Etsy. But that's what it is, though. That's what people don't understand is that it's all part of the economy of reselling, right? The idea that some people want to offload stuff and they don't mind giving it to you for really cheap or even free, because you're doing them a favor and you're helping yourself out. So it all works out. So I've had some interesting things lately. I find that eBay right now, and maybe because of the economy, is becoming more like Craigslist. Now, what are some, I'm going to see if Mike knows this. What are some common things that people try to buy? Like when they want to buy something on Craigslist, what do they usually offer outside of cash?
Oh, I mean, are you talking about like the scams where it's like money orders?
No, well, there's the scams.
Trades. People do trades. Like people like trades. Yeah.
And so now I'm getting an offer for trades. Now, luckily, no one has offered me a tattoo for, you know, some of the items in my eBay store. That's generally a Craigslist thing. I've gotten a few of those, and I'm like, dude, what? Why would I?
I mean, that's where you got your eBay tattoo on your chest, right?
Yeah, tatted on my chest. All right. Anyways,
that's right.
And I've been getting some trade offers. Like I had one where like, hey, I have these trains. Would you like to trade for these? And I just ignored it because I'm like, who does? But this one I thought was weird. So Alden shoes are really top tier expensive shoes. Usually they're shell cordovan, which is a leather that doesn't crease and so on, and people really look for those. Generally about $200 to $300. And so I have a pair listed for about $500. And I get this message just like, hi, I'm interested in the Alden penny loafers you have. If you don't get a buyer today, so it's like I'm waiting, like I hope today I can sell these. I have 2 pairs of Alden shell cordovan in excellent condition that are too small for me. And I would like to trade my 2 pair for your 1 pair. If you're interested, let me know and I'll send you photos of my wingtips and tassels. These are really fine shoes. And then they said, and then it did the automatic offer because I guess they were looking at it. And I said, hey, got your offer, but I'm only interested in trade. I'll follow up after the new offer expires. Thanks. So
this was an eBay offer for trade.
I trade 2 of their Alden shoes for 1 of my pairs. What are your thoughts on that? Should I go for it now? Will eBay ban me? Is my question. Because how do you even do that? You know, how do you even proceed?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you would facilitate a trade on eBay. I feel like there's got to be a way. I mean, people have got to have done that stuff in the past. Because I mean, it makes sense. Like when you're talking about with Craigslist, especially when you're into something like trains, RC cars, anything that's a hobby, people are going to be willing to do trades for those things, or even things like video games, because it's something somebody's in. Swapping within the community is a pretty common, popular thing. But on eBay, I'm not sure how that would work because, yeah, you would have to almost do it outside the platform or do it on the platform where you each sold for like a penny or something.
What if I sell for a penny and then they want to.
They don't, right? Yeah, you need to have like some kind of a broker in the middle that would like be able to hold the transactions to happen at the same time, or after this happens, then this happens. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would be interesting for people to put in the comments below, because I understand why somebody would want to do a trade. I mean, that makes sense. If I had brand new shoes, it's like, oh, these don't fit. I'm past my window of returning them. I just need one size up, and then these would fit. I mean, I could see why that could be legitimate. I'm not saying it's a scam. There's possibility it is, but I could see for sure it being legitimate. I just don't know how you would facilitate that on eBay. That's a tough thing for sure.
The difficult part for me is that when I sell things, I know what I've sourced, right? Like I looked it over, I know exactly. And this would be like I'm making a $500 transaction, which I don't like that risk. No, I'm making a $500 transaction to maybe make both shoes are worth like $800. Maybe it's worth it, but it's different than me sourcing, for $10 and flipping it for $500. So there's also there's a bigger risk. I do wonder, if we ever got to a place where we had a barter economy, would eBay adapt, and would there be like a barter, like little icon to click on? It'd be interesting. It would be interesting. I think about the fact that eBay bought TGC, right? And so trading cards, like you can't trade on eBay, right? You can only buy and sell. But
yeah, I was gonna say, I just looked up, you can't trade on eBay.
Okay. So I just thought, let us know in the comments. I'm really interested, because I could see, now with things changing a little bit, maybe in the card market, as the card market has crashed, maybe people are more willing to trade now, right? Instead of trying to get top dollar, they want to, and maybe now eBay would obviously want to cut. So how do you get fees on something that you're trading, right? Is it like you're paying the middleman to facilitate the trade? I don't know. It's just interesting. So, and I had one of those buyers that they sound really nice and sweet, and you want to make them a deal. Like I had somebody like, oh, my daughter, she loves, Winnie the Pooh and wants his plush. And it was like almost $100 plush. And like, it would really make her Christmas. Are you willing to, are able to go, it was like, they gave me like half price offer, and, it's Christmas. I'm feeling generous. I'm like, sure, why not? And, they left me like this glowing feedback with like 10,000 emojis. And I'm just like, oh, I'm glad I was able to help somebody out. And then I get a return request like the day it arrives, and it's like, hey, this is what I thought. There's an issue here. There's an issue here. There's an issue here. So I'm going to be out like $20 shipping. And I always say this, everybody gets stories over the holidays, right? Like things are tight, or so-and-so has a medical condition, or whatever it is, can you cut me a deal? And I got to tell you, you don't know people's stories. I know it sounds very Scrooge. I don't know what the word is. It sounds like Scrooge when you're like, hey,
bah humbug.
There you go. Everybody has their story, but it's true. Everybody does have their story. So you got to be careful. This wasn't, I only lost $20, but it was one of those things where I thought, man, I went out of my way. I shipped it the same day. I packed it very nice. I did everything. And in the end, it just, it wasn't. If it really meant that much, they would have kept it. So understand, everybody has their story. And if you deny people that deal, you understand. Number one, you don't know people's stories. And number two, it's just business. It's just business. So you got to roll with that. So, hey, and by the way, I got to tell you, it's been really great during this time, has been being on the Discord, because the Discord has been really encouraging during this time. Seeing people talking about, hey, they're getting sales, this is selling, getting the Bolos, getting the hustle of the week. It's just a great place to be. And again, I speak for many resellers that reselling is a very solitary process, especially during the holidays. And so if you're looking at a place to connect, our Discord is a great place. Now, to get access to it, there is one hoop to jump through, and it is, appreciate all of you that support us on Patreon. It's been really great, especially during this holiday time, as Mike and I are looking to unwind a little bit, but we're still trying to produce this podcast and get it out to you guys. It just means a lot. So appreciate all of you that support us. If you want to support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/PureHustlePodcast or the link below for $5.55 a month. And it also gives you access to the Discord to be part of our thriving community. Okay. All right. So I just got a couple reselling topics, not too long here, but important. One of them's kind of funny too. Oh, we have no sounds. Don't have any. I was waiting for you to
Da-da-da-da. News sound. Just imagine you're listening to a breaking news sound right now. We do have a breaking news ticker across the bottom, so that's cool.
We'll put some Charlie Brown. All right, today's reselling topics.
That sounds horrible. Yeah, turn it off.
Oh man, I broke the tree. All right, well done. Let me put this back on. All right, so
this is top tier production quality right here, guys.
Top tier. All right. So, a couple of things here. So, Congress right now in the middle of the holiday. Let me shut that off. In the middle of the holidays, is passing a bill that's going to affect resellers. And it's interesting. Now, Mike, let me know if the video goes out because I'm changing windows here. So I'm hoping. Am I still here? Am I still there?
You're still there. You're frozen, though. You're glitching a little bit.
Am I glitching? Can you hear me, though?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, how about let me do something else. Let me see. This is top tier production. So I'm trying to make this. Oh, now I'm losing. Now my computer's frozen.
Okay, summarize it.
Okay,
Spark
back. Am I back? I'm starting to look at notes. Yeah. Okay, here I'm back. Am I back? You me? Okay. So lately, I don't know if you've been catching the news, but okay. So Walmart, their CEO recently, a few weeks ago, had talked about how things have gotten so bad with theft that they might have to close some stores, which that's kind of crazy because I used to work loss prevention. I used to catch shoplifters, and never did it get to a place that anybody ever talked about that. Target just reported $400 million in losses. I saw another news report that said $600 million. I don't know how there's that big of a discrepancy. By the way, a lot of money. So Congress, in order to stop that, is looking to pass a bill. And in this bill, it's the Inform Act. I think it's Bill 5502. You can look it up. I don't want to switch windows because I don't want to lose the video. But basically in this bill, what they're looking to do is that everybody has to, who's a high volume seller, it doesn't say small seller. So, but it always starts somewhere and eventually it trickles down to everybody else. But what they're going to do is that everybody has to report where they, their address or their place of business. So not where they live, just where you do business. So I always recommend people use a UPS address or a post office box so people don't know your location. And then on top of that, they have to report also their numbers so consumers can call them, which I thought was interesting. Now, it already passed the House, and it's supposed to pass the Senate, I believe, today or before Christmas. So I'm not really sure when it's going to pass. The other interesting thing is that there's supposed to be a new department that is established for people to call in people that they believe are selling counterfeits or selling stolen goods. So I'm pretty sure what is this going to do for us resellers? Well, number one, obviously, if you get requests for information, I'm pretty sure what we've been doing the last year, like eBay's been asking for bank account info, social security, and all that. I think it's getting prepared for this. I think the phone number one is interesting. I do think eBay may kind of shield that one, and maybe it's going to cost eBay I'm hoping eBay will do this, set up their own department to take phone calls like that, or maybe the government's going to set up their own department. But I think I don't think it's a bad thing. In the sense that yes, it's going to hopefully limit the amount of people that are trying to sell stolen goods. I think that's always going to happen. I don't think that's going to be preventable, but it's going to, maybe tone it down a bit. But again, it's part of this reselling continues to change as far as it's not like the good old days where you could just list something, just sell it. I mean, I was looking up when I was doing research about, the new tax thing that's passing in 2023. And if you haven't yet, you should check out, I don't want to delve into it too much, but the eBay CEO did a op-ed. We posted on Instagram about his thoughts about this new $600 threshold. But back in 2013, eBay was fighting to stop taxes on goods on eBay. Do you know there was a time you could sell stuff on eBay and people didn't have to pay taxes? And so you probably got more sales because people were like, hey, I can buy this at Walmart or I can buy it on eBay or Amazon and not have to pay sales taxes. And so this is just part of reselling. It's just one more thing. It's just, you just got to adapt, right? You quickly can say, hey, I'm not going to resell anymore just because, I'm tired of this. Things keep changing every year. But again, I really encourage you, it's just part of adapting. And we'll see what happens with this. I think that the two big moves this coming new year is going to be the taxes, and it's going to be this one. Because on Amazon, we've already had to post our address on there, place of business, phone number. And on eBay, it's actually there. People can actually call you, but I think there's certain clicks they have to do. So anyways, any thoughts on that?
It's a fine line. I mean, it's one of those things where the more hoops we have to jump through, the more potential legislation and regulations, it can definitely hamper what we do, and it could cause obstacles for us. However, if consumers feel more confident buying, knowing that they're going to get the items they're buying from a legitimate place, there may be more trust that may increase the number of sales on sites like eBay and Amazon. So I don't know of many people who are currently worried and not buying on eBay because they're worried it's stolen goods. There may be some, so I don't know how much of an impact it'll make. It's one of those things though. There could be good in it. There could be some negatives that impact us. The way I look at it is, I mean, I was just in Mission Valley in San Diego at the Target there, and Mission Valley is a pretty like nice place. I mean, the little condos, 2-bedroom condos there are going for $700,000. Like, I mean, it's expensive to live there. But one of the things that was interesting is as I'm walking around this Target, which is a beautiful Target. I mean, they've made it almost look like a department store. Is almost everything, especially in their beauty and like even stuff like toothpaste, everything was locked up in glasses. Everything was locked up. Yeah.
And toothpaste is a pretty, not ritzy, it's almost ritzy, but that's shocking to me because usually that's in the other areas of San Diego.
Well, and see, the thing is, I worked at that Mission Valley Target years and years ago when I was in college, and we were told that was one of the highest regions of theft in Target, or that Target had the highest theft in the region because it's close to the San Diego River. A lot of people who would be part of the community that was stealing a lot were like kind of living down in that area. And so I mean, it makes sense that they're trying to protect the inventory, but then it's hard because as it's one of those things where they're trying to prevent theft, they're trying to keep prices low for everybody, but then it's inconvenient for shoppers. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Because like if you're going in and if every time you buy something, my wife had to get some face wash, she had to push the button and wait for someone to open it. We had to get some toothpaste, we had to push the button and wait for someone to open it. So the whole idea was just that like it's a beneficial because it keeps prices low, because if they keep having high theft, they have to raise their prices or they leave the area completely. But then it's also an obstacle we have to overcome. So it's one of those things. There's a trade-off. There's going to be some benefits, but then there's also some inconvenience that could come along with it. It's hard to legislate morality. I mean, you're going to have a hard time making people not want to steal things, and still trained scammers are going to scam, and people are going to do awful things. But so we'll see how it shakes out. We'd love to hear comments below what people think about this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, I want to end it on a more positive note. And I don't know if this is positive. Some people might say this is the downfall of our society. Some people might say this is a great thing. But CNBC had this article about kidulting or kidulting. Have you ever heard that term?
I haven't heard that term specifically, but I imagine it's what adults acting like children.
Yeah. So the article
is terrible.
Now, this is great for resellers, though. It's great for resellers. And here's the thing. All of us, like, for example, I sell a lot of vintage toys. And I don't know. I myself haven't played with the He-Man toys, but maybe the people that are buying them do. I don't know. Okay. But the article says adults are buying toys for themselves, and it's the biggest source of growth for the industry. So the key points: kidults have a great fondness for cartoons, Star Wars, and Legos. In recent years, toy makers such as Mattel have created lines just for these customers. These kids at heart are responsible for 1/4 of all toy sales annually. So if you're wondering why this Q4, toys are still selling well, it's because 1/4 of them are being bought by adults, for adults to play with those toys. Now, here's an interesting thing. Now, I want everybody to understand the ages are defined as 12 and older. So, it's some teenagers, which I thought was interesting. But again, Mike and I have always said this, is that the reason that vintage toys do well, or anything vintage, 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, whatever you want to go, is because people now have money, where things that they wanted when they were kids, they couldn't have. And so this is why vintage toys do well. But I do believe that the retail industry is onto something when they're saying, hey, maybe we could do retail toys that will sell. And so I think Amazon is still going to do pretty well because now, adults have money, and I guess they're not trying to relive their childhood. I guess they're trying to extend it. I don't know, whatever it is, but I thought it was an interesting, a quarter. We're talking about billions of dollars. Let me read one more quote here. So this is from, this is a chief brand officer at a toy company. He said, the definition of adulthood has definitely evolved. What it used to mean to be an adult was to be very upstanding, serious member of society. I hope that's still the case. And then said, and to do that, you had to demonstrate intellectually, emotionally, in every single way. Now we feel a lot more free to express our fandom as part of our adulthood. And said, in 1977, Star Wars launches, and you started seeing a lot more licensed products at retail, where we were celebrating our fandom with toys and collectibles. At the time, the intended recipient was almost all kids, but those children that were born in the 70s and 80s were really the first generation that had this much licensing and this much product that was available for them to demonstrate, to demonstrate and to be attached to. And it's not a big surprise that those kids in their 40s and 30s, as they continue to demonstrate that, are now buying toys when they're older. So
yeah, I get it. I'm wearing I'm actually have grown out a lot of my nerd phase. Still play some board games with friends, but I'm wearing a Star Wars ugly Christmas sweater right now. So I understand the that concept of that. Even when my son watches YouTube videos of people playing with toys and he wants to learn about a new toy or whatever, a lot of times it's adults who are like, I got this new Matchbox Top Gun aircraft carrier, and this is really cool. I can't wait to play with it. And I'm like, this guy sounds like he's 40, but it's there's definitely a market for that. So I guess capitalize on it if you're a reseller, for sure.
Yeah, I would say I do believe that toys are still going to be a great thing to sell, even, depending on how things go over this next year, whether we're in a continued recession or not. People like nostalgia, and toys is one of those things that brings people back. I can't tell you how many toys over this Q4 I sold, and people were messaging like, oh, I haven't, I remember when I had this when I was 8 and, it disappeared. And I'm so glad I found it. And I think that's going to happen more and more, especially if we do get into tough economic times. People want to, not think about things. And right. And so no, it's true. I've actually talked. I had other resellers like Amazing Taste Store that started during the reselling era. Chrysler Center that talked about this. That nostalgia still sells now. It may not sell like it used to, but it still sells during these times because people are just trying to think about different things. Now, you did mention, and I agree. Escapism in the previous podcast, that the top of the market for things still sells well because those people are still there and willing to pay top dollar for items because they still have that money there. So there we go. All right, any Bolos, Mike?
I'm going to go with the tried and true start of the new year Bolo, and I'm going to say fitness equipment. This is the time of the year where everyone's making their resolutions. Diets are going to be picking up. Fitness equipment is going to start selling. And, there may be other things. Think of other New Year's resolutions people do. You can go to any store and get things like calendars and notebooks and stuff. So those aren't going to be necessarily Bolos, but think of the things that people are going to be making resolutions about, being more organized. Well, what are some things you could sell that help people with organization? People are going to start wanting to clean up their houses. Maybe you could pick up some stuff that go with that. But I think the tried and true fitness equipment, everybody, the shake weight might not be the hot ticket, but other fitness equipment tends to sell really well.
Running shoes tend to do really well. Right. Yep. And by the way, people don't like it when we talk about the macro, but, in China right now, they're having major issues with the outbreak and stuff. And there might be supply chain issues again. And so just like what happened, back in 2020 and 2021, where people couldn't get the running shoes that they wanted, people started going online, and running shoes was a huge seller for me. I remember last January. So it may happen again. So keep an eye out for that. All right. So mine is And I struggle giving this away because I hope the market doesn't get flooded, but I don't think we're too large where that might happen. But I got to tell you, this Christmas, I sold a ton of nativity set replacements. So like I was selling baby Jesus, I was selling the wise men, I was selling the random donkey that everybody thinks was there, a small one from the Disney movie. If you watch that one, it's a classic. And selling for, you buy a nativity set, let's say at the thrift, you can get it for like 10 to 20 bucks, maybe even 30 is worth it to you. And let's say there's 12 pieces and you sell each of them for 20 bucks, you're talking about $240. Now, make sure you do calculated shipping. Understand you're going to have to bubble wrap and you're going to have to cardboard and you're going to have to make sure it doesn't break. But I got to tell you, I was selling all kinds of nativity set replacements. And it was a good investment for me. I bought one box for $10 and I think I sold everything for a total of $260 when all was said and done. So it's just nice to have that. So keep it out. And remember, right now is the time that people are right after Christmas, people are going to start going, Johnny grabbed that sheep and like kind of threw it across the room. We need to find a sheep for the nativity set. My son actually a decade ago stole a sheep from one of my friends' nativity sets. I still have it in our medicine cabinet. One day I'll give it back to him. It's not yours, Mike, but I keep it. But I'm sure that one time we were looking for a sheep to replace. And so keep an eye out for nativity set replacements. All right, Mike, what are you looking forward to here as we're kind of winding down after Christmas or before?
Man, I'm hoping to be all the way better. I'm hoping that as Christmas comes, I'm in the clear. I'm good to go. And I'm one of those sappy people who likes New Year's. I know there's nothing special about the New Year, as it were, but kind of wrapping up this year, finishing strong, and then going into a new year with almost a fresh start on taxes, fresh start on bookkeeping, and kind of just setting those goals and those ideas, those big ideas that you're going to kind of follow and try and accomplish throughout the year. I think I enjoy the end of the year because it's a time of reflecting and kind of thinking about how the year went, family, with friends, spiritually, all those things, economically, reselling, and then kind of going into a new year. So yeah, excited about that. What about you?
So I'm looking forward to the time off. And I got to tell you, this Q4 was different. And we'll do a Q4 episode, a thoughts on Q4 that we do every year. But I was able to spend a lot of time with family due to the fact that I was in the retail arbitrage. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. Things were a lot more mellow. They weren't as crazy. Now, I did have crazy moments. And so I'm just looking forward to the time off. I'm looking forward to not, stressing up until the last second to do Christmas shopping. And so, these are things to think about. Sometimes the return on investment, like granted, I am missing out on lots of money that I was making, but I don't think that money was there to be made this year. And I could have been wrong, and I'll never know. But I did experience a lot of great memories with my boys, and so I think it was worth it. I do have a huge mess I need to take care of after this ends. I got shipping. My shipping room is crazy right now, just because I was just trying to get orders out. And here's what happens when you're a reseller. If you're not careful, you can quickly I'll put that box away later. And then I'll put away that bubble wrap. Oh, that packing paper. And next thing you know, all those little things add up and you have a huge mess on your hands. And so I need to get that organized. I've been trying to move out inventory that I'm not going to sell. So, I had some hauls this year where people just gave away stuff. And, I always say this, you can't pass up the opportunity, but understand you're also taking on a lot of junk. And so you got to figure out what to do with those. So I'm trying to clear some of that out. And then, just like you, I want to start off the new year fresh. And so looking at that, but just looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to New Year's, and hope everyone else is doing well. By the way, if you haven't been following us on social media, we're on all social media. We are Pure Soul Podcast and Pure Soul Cast on Twitter. And hope all of you are having a great Merry Christmas holiday season. And we do have a new episode we are dropping as we're highlighting things that we enjoyed over 2022 next year. But anything else you want to share, Mike, before we say goodbye?
Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for a great year. I think we have, is there one more before the year's over, one more episode we've got, but if we don't see you until next year, have a good one. Merry Christmas and keep it real.
And with that being said, make sure to be real.
Be relevant.
And be reselling. Please.
Peace.